Hi. Thank you for attending today's reading. Let's begin. Random person gets into my car thinking I was their Uber driver. I had just turned 27 when I bought a new car for myself. A brand new 2019 white Volkswagen Jetta. I have been saving and saving for years in order to buy a new car. After 2 months goes by of having the car, a close friend of mine asks if I would be interested in going to the movies. I said sure. Let's take my car. I go to pick him up. We go down to our local theater, watch the movie and then head back to my car. As we are leaving the parking lot, my friend asks me if it would be alright if we stopped at Starbucks on the way out. He had a sore throat and wanted an iced coffee to quench his thirst. I give him a questionable look. Like, really, man? It's a brand new car and you want a coffee? Now, I'm not bashing his taste in coffee, but I want to keep the car looking spick and span. No food or drinks in the car for now. I tell him no, but he tells me that he won't drink it in the car. I don't know why I caved, but I stopped in front of Starbucks. He thanked me and proceeded to head inside. I was parked right in front of the main door to Starbucks. I had the engine idling and I was just sitting there by myself. I pulled out my phone to respond to a text message that I received while in the theater. All of a sudden I hear the back door to the passenger seat open up. I moved my head away from my phone and I see this young, blonde, 20-year-old girl getting into the back seat of my car. She sat down, pulled down the armrest and placed her coffee into the cup holder, put her handbag on the other seat next to her, buckled herself into the seat, closed the door, gave one look at me and said, "Hello," and then proceeded to take a selfie while holding the cup of coffee next to her face with her iPhone. At this point I'm dumbfounded. I have no idea what is going on. My mind is going a million miles an hour. Who are you? Why are you in my car? Where did you come from? I couldn't think straight. The only words that came out of my mouth are just, "ah." I couldn't comprehend a coherent sentence to this person. Words escaped my cognitive thinking process. I finally focused on the situation at hand and I said, "Excuse me, miss," but before I could finish my sentence, she cut me off and said I need to get to this location as soon as possible. She didn't even look up from her phone while she said that to me. She then said, "You just messaged me to keep an eye out for a white Volkswagen and this is a white Volkswagen." At this point things started to make sense. I sat up in the driver's seat facing her and said, "You're right, this is a white Volkswagen. However, I'm not an Uber driver." This woman finally looks up at me from her phone with a confused look on her face. With a calm-toned voice I proceed to tell her that I am not an Uber driver. I am not a Lyft driver. I am not affiliated with any ride-sharing service. I said, "Madam, you just got into the back of a random stranger's car," after I said that another white Volkswagen parks right next to mine. It's an older model Volkswagen, but on the front of the windshield you can see a small LED Uber sign, indicating that this person was intended to pick her up. She looks at the other car and realizes her mistake, looks back at me and said, "Sorry," with a snarky attitude. She grabs her things, opens the door to get out but completely forgot to unbuckle herself. She gets caught from the seat belt and drops her coffee, which luckily landed on the outside of the car. She then screams from the sight of her dropping the coffee, unbuckles herself, slams the door, gets into the other vehicle and they both drive off. My friend walks out of Starbucks and asks why is there a coffee spilled on the outside of the car. I just say, "Dude, I have no idea what just transpired of the last 5 minutes." End of story. Next story. I accidentally sent an email to my teacher. Okay, I was very tired after a long day of school and barely slept. Then something popped into my head. Ask my teacher if I could sit next to my crush then. Like an hour later I was like, how could I do that? I'm so stupid. Then deleted it, but then I realized I can't fully delete an email. Then the day after I went to school until I looked up at the board to see the new seating chart, and there I sat across my crush. How happy I was. End of story. Next story. I'm 90% sure I accidentally found a dead body. So for starters, this is a true story that happened to me about 2 years ago. I used to live in a somewhat small town that was divided by a river. I lived on one side and I worked across this river. At that time I didn't have a car and would usually catch rides with my coworkers because they passed my place on their way home. Well, this day I had just got off work at about 7 a.m. Graveyard shift. I honestly wasn't having a good day and really just wanted to loosen up, so I decided I'll stop by a bar and just take a cab home later. So fast forward to about 11 a.m. and I'm ready to go home. Feeling pretty good, but unfortunately realized I didn't have enough money for a cab. Drunk me spent most of it at the bar. So instead of ruining my mood, I tried to make light of the situation and just figured I'll buy a couple tall boys and have a nice walk next to the river instead of on the road, thinking it would be peaceful. So I get my beverages and start my journey. Walk down the main part that hits the river and see people fishing and whatnot. I wave and proceed on my way. Now mind you, I'm in full work uniform, large boots, professional pants and tucked-in shirt, so I imagine I looked out of place. But anyway, as I get farther down I realize the path doesn't actually follow the river, it kind of veered off into the very, very tall dead weeds to my left, but I wanted to stay next to the river. So drunk me decided I'll just push on off the path. Soon I'm pretty much almost knee-high in mud, yet I keep going. About 30 minutes or so I realize this is a stupid idea. So I turn left to maybe hit the path again. I start making my own path through huge weeds that are way taller than me, and mind you I am 6'4". As I'm forcing my way through I end up at this clearing, like a random patch right in the middle, where old tents are set up. I can tell it hasn't been used in a while and I think that's weird, but whatever, I'll just keep going. So yet again I push through more huge weeds till I see this semi-small tree, and I kid you not, next to it on the floor was a white sheet wrapped about someone, like tied full body outline I could see. I legit froze and was like, I didn't move for a good 20 seconds. But I felt my flight or fight kick in and I just stormed through those weeds. I swear I have never felt more scared. After some time I finally made it to open ground, soaking wet, sweating and thorns in my legs. And the worst part? It was right where I entered. At this point it was probably 2 p.m. So I walked home on the road, showered and pasted out in bed. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect to get this much attention. But to answer, no, I didn't report it because I wasn't 100% sure what I saw and honestly wanted to forget it at the time. But now I'm thinking of maybe going back there to take pictures and maybe see if I can debunk this. I don't live in that town anymore, but I'm willing to travel back for the people of Reddit. End of story. That is all for today. If you want to support my automated channel, feel free to drop a like and subscribe. See you tomorrow.